What's up, guys? It's the Black Biscuit, bringing you stories and news from around the world of hockey. Now, I've played hockey for 24 years, since I was 8 years old, and from youth to junior to college, and I truly think it's the greatest game on earth. Growing up as a black kid from Southern California, I had the unique perspective of being somewhat of an outsider when it came to the game of hockey, but I truly have met the most amazing people. 2 out of the 5 guys that were part of my groomsmen party at our wedding a few years ago, I met through hockey, my greatest friends along the way, and I've had some awesome experiences and some not so great experiences all come to me through the sport, but I think hockey's really shaped who I am as a person. So, throughout the course of the year in the NHL, there's been a couple of stories that have popped up, most notably the Akim Aliu, Bill Peters situation, and it kind of brings up something that isn't really talked about much, because quite frankly, there aren't many guys of color to join the conversation. But let's talk about race in hockey, specifically the NHL. So in hockey, we already know that there aren't many players of color. In fact, I think the last stat I saw was there were 30 players of color or so in the league. So roughly that boils down to a little bit less than 1 per team. And as an American myself, even fewer than those are African American players. I think there's literally less than 5 African American players in the league right now. So less players of color means that there's less fans of color. A young black or brown kid growing up, you take a look at a basketball court versus a look at an ice rink, and you see there's no one who looks like me over here, but everyone who looks like me is having fun over here. So I guess I'll go that way. And, I used to work at a local rink when I was in high school as a skate attendant and, kind of a skate guard out there during public sessions. Pretty fun job. But I remember a black kid who was there on a field trip to the rink one time. I was kind of asking him why he doesn't get into hockey or what he thinks about hockey. And he says in a farmer's accent, no less, only thing black in hockey is the puck. So, that's kind of the idea we have about hockey, right, when it comes to it. So do I think that the race issue in hockey needs to be talked about? I think yeah, because it's only going to help hockey in the future. And there was a couple situations this year, as I mentioned, that kind of helped get that conversation started. Vander Kane was pretty loud during the off season about some of his thoughts and how people were perceived. I think in particular he showed a picture of, I can't remember who, but someone in the NBA flashing a stack of money before he walked onto a private jet, and he kind of drew the comparison of, why did I get so much flack for when I did this from the hockey culture, and this guy doesn't get any from the basketball culture? And he had a caption of, same race, different sport, or something like that. And he kind of started stirring the pot there. And then during the preseason, there were some insensitive comments during a game. I think it was Blackhawks versus someone else, but it was about Austin Ortega. Shout out to another SoCal kid there. But I know he held the puck in the zone or something, and the announcer mentions Austin Ortega. It sounds like he should be a shortstop. And, I'm sure it's a comment that in the commentator's mind is innocent enough, but at the same time, those kind of things, keep minorities away from the game, because no one wants to subject themselves to a stereotype like that. And when it comes to entering hockey or approaching the game as an outsider, it's not like I was walking into a KKK rally every day when I went to the locker room. And I'll be the first person to say, of course, that some of my closest friends are from the game of hockey. But you can imagine the feeling of always kind of being on edge, knowing that the next joke could always be about you or be about your family or people that look like you, and in reality there's going to be no one to back you up, or certainly no one that's feeling the same way you are. And that's a tough feeling to have. And what Bill Peters did, that Akim Aliu brought to light a bit earlier this year, was really make that a reality for Akim. And that kind of stuff's got to go from the game. And funny story about Bill Peters, speaking of, he was my coach actually in the past. I played in a tournament when I was a kid, probably about 13 or 14, and it was up in Penticton, British Columbia, and he was assigned as the coach for my team during this 2-week tournament. At the time, I think he was an up-and-coming I think he was coaching at the junior A level or maybe at a prep school somewhere, and then as we know, he went on to coach the Spokane Chiefs to a Memorial Cup championship and get the job with the Hurricanes in the NHL and eventually take the job with the Flames. And for a while when he was with the Flames there, he was, in my mind, that's the closest I had ever worked with someone who has a solid job in the NHL when it comes to hockey. No one that I played against growing up has really stuck in the league, growing up in Southern California, but I didn't see many guys who made a career there. So it's funny that the one person I do know that did have a career in the NHL lost it all because apparently he doesn't like people that look like me. So why is hockey so divided? Well, first and foremost, obviously hockey is an expensive sport to get into. And in the hood, at least in the US, kids can start shooting a basketball or kicking a soccer ball a lot easier than they can come across a pair of ice skates. And to play hockey in the United States, you need to not only have someone paying for your ice time, but you've got to have a way to get to and from the rink. This isn't just, walking down the street to your local basketball court or soccer field. And maybe you're in a single parent household where your mom or dad has to be at work and you don't have an option to drive the 30 miles, at least it was for me, to get to the rink when I was younger. The next point is, now in my experience, is it hard being a black man in the hockey culture? Well, yes. As with anything, if you're different from everyone around you, that just makes it that much tougher. If you walk into a room and you're the only white person, for example, in a room full of black people, you would know. And everyone else in that room would know too, eventually. That's tough. That's a tough feeling to consistently have. But my personal thoughts are, again, this coming from a black man who's played hockey his whole life, that feeling I described earlier is a tough one to have. But hockey is honestly the greatest sport in the world, and the best and worst experiences in my life have come from playing this sport. And if I could go back, I wouldn't change anything. It means so much to the person that I am today, and I still try to skate 3 or 4 times if I can a week. But it's because of all of this that I truly think it's a shame that hockey isn't more diverse and there aren't more kids aware of this amazing life that may be ahead of them if they strap on the skates.
The sport of hockey has allowed me to travel to so many different places I would have never gone, and I've met so many people that I otherwise would have never met. But through it all, I think what I've really learned, the important lesson here is that no matter where we're from or how different our upbringings may be, we're all after the same goal in life. And that's happiness for ourselves, for our friends, and for our family. And aside from that, nothing else really matters.
In the future, if we had someone with the genetic makeup and athletic ability of, say, LeBron, choose to foster his skills on the ice instead of the basketball court, wouldn't that be awesome for hockey fans everywhere to watch? So I hope you guys liked my video and drop your opinion below. Let's have a discussion about it. Peace.